Morning, written notes.
Now, okay, I'd like to call this meeting of the Facilities Committee to order, January 20th, 2022. And first of all, I'd like to look for an approval of the October 21st meeting minutes.
Motion?
Second.
Any questions? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, next we'll move on to old business, which will be old business for a while, which is our Giza update, which we just had a update meeting today, this morning, so we're up to date.
Just for the committee's benefit, I just wanted to update everyone on where that project stands and how we're making out and some of the things we've accomplished recently and what's on the schedule for the upcoming month or two. The big activity that we completed recently was over the holiday break. We had a fairly significant crane lift at the high school where we replaced 3 rooftop units that serve the cafeteria, library, computer labs, TV studio, basically that 93, I think it was, addition that bumped out the back of the school. So we lifted the old units off. Those were the hail damaged units, if you recall, and then dropped the new units in place. We also craned in what they call a makeup air unit for the kitchen. That unit has been in disrepair my entire tenure. So that's part of this project. So we were able to get the old one out, crane the new one up, and get that in place. The 3 units, the rooftop units, they're all operational at this point. I've gotten good feedback from the building occupants, specifically the teachers in that area, the cafeteria, the library. Seems to be heating and cooling well. The makeup air unit for the kitchen is not online as of yet, but they are working on that diligently.
Yes.
We're still waiting on the new boilers for the high school. They're going to be installed over the summer. We have the boilers for the middle school at this point. They're at the warehouse for the contractor, but the high school boilers have not arrived as of yet.
That's for the 4-5, right?
Right, well, we have 4 or 5, yeah,
Okay.
sorry.
That's
4 or
okay,
5.
I'm just making it clear for everyone
Yes,
else.
sorry, thank you.
I knew it.
4 or 5 boilers are in, high school boilers are still TBD, but we don't expect any delays that would impact the project timeline. So we should be good for install over the summer for those. The work still continues on the building automation system. We had a system that was very disjointed, if you will. It was one system per building, different interface, different IP address for each building. We're consolidating all that, updating the controls, and I'm hoping to demo that to the committee in a month or two once it's at a stable and kind of robust state so we can actually understand and see what's going on in the system. Marlboro roof repair. That one is a little precarious at this point. There was a leak at Marlboro's second floor peaked roof, standing seam metal roof. Leak was identified at the ridge cap. During the investment grade audit, Noresco identified that as an issue, brought forth a repair proposal, executed on that repair, and unfortunately, some sections of that peaked roof still leak. So obviously, it's my contention and our consultant's contention that they're still on the hook to fix that issue and make it watertight. Noresco doesn't necessarily see it that way. They basically contended that we proposed that we would perform these 6 repairs or these 6 items to repair the roof, and we did that.
And it's still late.
So you should pay us in full, and obviously I don't agree with that, and we're withholding some money. So we're hoping to work this out amicably and ask them to take another crack at fixing the roof, on
Are they suggesting that these continued leaks are a new problem and not related to the original problem?
No, we actually, we did two confirmatory things. We did our own water test and got the ridge cap to leak. And then we asked them to have their roofing contractor cover the ridge cap with EPDM rubber. And lo and behold, it didn't leak anymore. So they're basically saying, you know, school district, you agreed with this repair method. We performed this repair method, so you should pay us in full. And I said, yeah, but okay, but you know, it's reasonable for us to expect that repair to
work.
to be successful and have the ridge cap be watertight.
Right.
I think that's very reasonable
I think so.
expectation of all those on our side of the table. So we're still discussing that with them on next steps. The only other real update on the project is heat pumps. The geothermal heat pumps have been ordered. There's about 40 of them. Most of them are concentrated in the 400 wing, and there's probably 6 or 8 in the athletic wing. So those are on order. Those are also due to be installed over the summer. It's going to be a very busy
Yes.
summer for the Giza project.
Yeah, I keep commenting that the list is getting shorter, but it really isn't. It's just these projects are getting shorter.
Yes, initially I had some concerns that we were just, you know, exceeding the bandwidth of the contractor with so many ECMs scheduled for this upcoming summer, but they've assured me that they have the crews available and the subcontractors available, that, you know, we should be able to maintain the project schedule and be back up and operational for the start of school at the end of August.
Yep. I believe they will.
I think so.
I think so.
Anybody have any questions?
Okay.
Okay.
All right, I guess we'll move on to middle school detention basin. Another sore spot.
Yes. I did forward around late, or actually early this morning, I received a proposal late last evening from Barry Eisen and Associates. This is the issue specific to the detention basin to the rear of the middle school. Long story short, the Conservation District declined our request to terminate the NPDES permit that we have for that site. And one of their major issues was basically the bottom of this detention basin is not stabilized to their satisfaction. So when the basin was installed, all the soil prep and everything was done, and then there were these planting plugs that were placed in the basin, and they're supposed to, you know, grow up and come up through the water and stabilize the basin. Well, unfortunately, they died. So we had two options, basically. One was to replant them and wait however long it takes for them to satisfy the Conservation District, which could be years, for them to germinate and grow to a sufficient height. Or we can put a fabric down and lay river stone on top of the fabric, and that will immediately stabilize the bottom of the basin, and you can get the approval through the Conservation District that way. We were hoping to accomplish that latter scope of work under the bid threshold, but the contractors that we spoke to, they basically couldn't even mobilize the equipment and pay for the stone under the bid threshold, let alone labor and some other things. So we have to formally bid the project because it's going to exceed our bid threshold. So Barry Eisen is going to help, or they will design the project. They'll do the project specifications, bid the project through Penn Bid, we'll award it to a contractor, they'll supervise the construction and do all of the kind of back-end paperwork for notice to proceeds and any change orders and substantial completion and all those things that engineers and architects do on these types of projects. And this permit, this NPDES permit, is something that we want to get terminated so we can do other work in the district
Yep.
that would require some type of conservation district permit. If we don't terminate this and we go to do the softball field drainage system, the conservation district is going to say, no,
Yep.
you have an open permit with us, you need to terminate that permit first. So this is, you know, we have to do these things in series, unfortunately, not parallel.
Right.
So, and with your blessing, I'd like to list that engineering proposal on the workshop agenda next Thursday night for.
Do you want to vote for that or just an agreement?
What's that?
Do you want to vote, do you want us to vote on that or do you just want an agreement? Do you guys have any questions about it? See, I've been in it since the beginning, so we kind
I
of know
just
all
have one
about
or
it.
two questions.
Yeah.
If, I'm trying to think of the best way to phrase this. Why did it fail, I guess,
Mhm.
other than it just didn't work?
Well, there was some contributing factors. Unbeknownst to us being the maintenance department here in the district, the plantings were not designed to be underwater. So that basin, it's not a retention basin, it's a detention basin. So it's not meant to have a standing pool of water in it permanently. We have a pumping system that takes the water in that detention basin and redistributes it along the grounds or amongst the grounds, the woods on either side of the middle school. And that was a DEP requirement.
Okay.
And I think personally, I think there was two things that happened. One, it just we weren't pumping enough water. And two, I think I can't prove this, but I think there's more water getting into that basin than was calculated
Yep.
during the project.
Not surprised.
So, yeah, and we pumped, I think I checked from last April through the point that we winterized it in November, we had pumped something like 500,000 gallons of water out of that detention basin. But unfortunately, if there's too much water and the sunlight is not able to penetrate the water and get to these plants, germinate
Right.
these plants, they die
You're
off.
simply drowning them, yeah.
Exactly.
I've done that.
Exactly.
That's plants.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's what happened.
Pretty good
Thumbs.
concept.
But, okay, and that's perfect, because, you know, that leads me to suspect that was poor design on the architect's fault in the beginning here. You know,
Yeah,
and why would they propose a design like that if we're going to be pumping it out anyhow? You know, and do we know what they had rated their flow to be,
Right.
expect to pump out, so, you know.
And there was, and
Is there any other recourse besides us just spending money? Or any recourse after we spend the money to
It's a
get
lot of
something
money
back?
too.
yeah, unfortunately, I don't believe so. I know there were a couple instances as well where some of the sprinkler heads for this irrigation system are located near the sports field.
Mhm.
And one of my maintenance staff directed the irrigation contractor to turn off one of the heads because it was overwatering the one corner of the sports field. So I think that was somewhat of a contributing factor, but it's one head out of 23 or 24 heads. So I think that was a small portion of it, but I think there's just too much water getting into that basin, and I think, Melanie, you were aware of the plantings, but we never really received that
No, I don't
instruction
think
with
so.
like the old operations and maintenance manuals or anything. We weren't aware
Excuse me.
that basin basically needed to be pumped dry all the time. It shouldn't have standing water in it.
Yep.
Mhm.
So, I was going to say, to add to that, I think the other part was that we're winterizing it. So any remaining water in the basin when we go to winterize it is standing water. So if it is exceeding that depth, you're
Right, well,
you're gonna save some
I
time.
had that exact question as well, because I'll be honest with you, I was not familiar with these plantings and how they were supposed to function. They're supposed to go dormant. So in the winter, these plants should go dormant, and then they can be underwater from, November through April. when we turn the system back on.
It's designed to be winterized.
Yeah, it's designed, right, we have to, or we, we
Everything
crack
afraid.
ice and things. So yeah, unfortunately, if we want to terminate this permit, I don't really see any other path forward. Other than-
So with the two options that we have with replanting, which I don't think we're gonna go with, it's putting down the substrate and then the rock on top. Is that able to withstand having standing water in there, or are we gonna have to change our procedure on how much we
yeah,
pump
they're-
that out?
they're-
That's what we should have done in the first place.
Yes,
Safer.
to answer your question, yes, because, we would still want to be pumping because it's a DEP requirement and we're suspecting that DEP is going to come knocking soon and ask to see, our flow readings and make sure that the system is functioning and that as designed. But if we get a heavy rainstorm and that detention basin fills up, it won't, there's nothing to die off at that point. It's just rock.
Right.
Are there any other environmental concerns such as mosquitoes and stuff like that? If there's standing water there?
The concern that I have is more of a safety concern than anything. Having standing water like that is a potential liability, so.
Is the area fenced in or no?
It is, but it's, the fence is,
Yeah.
it's a 5-foot fence, maybe, not even. In fact, we chased a couple kids out of that area last week or the week before.
Is there signage, like no trespassing?
Yeah, I know the gates are locked.
Might want to think about something.
Yeah, I'll have to check on the signage. I thought there was, but I'll double check. But I think, just pumping the water down is from a safety perspective, is certainly, the wildlife back there love it. There's a blue heron that's always back there. The turtle, we're constantly picking up turtles off the sports field and bringing them back to the,
Come and watch some.
Tons of deer out there.
deer, fox.
Yeah.
It's, we've seen eagles, but,
Okay.
yeah.
We've been talking
I
about
think-
this
I think
for a
we
long
need to
time.
make sure that it's, pumping as designed and granted after a large rainstorm, because what happens is all of the water on the site goes into that basin. So all of the water that comes off the roof comes down the downspouts underground to the collection system and all flows into that basin. And we got a heavy rain, it fills right up. It's a
Yep.
significant amount of water.
How about the water from the street? It was talked about at one point, you weren't sure.
There are a couple manholes up on Montgomery Avenue, because what I've seen when, I think it's Upper Hanover Authority, flushes their hydrants, that runs down through our collection system on the property and into that basin.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's just no place for runoff anywhere around here.
No, it's wet. I mean, it's
You
always
should
wet.
see the borough during the storm, oh my God.
I mean, remember how high we had to build up the middle school foundation? Feet
Right.
and feet and feet. It was a lot.
Yeah.
All right, any other questions? Well, literally, we have been talking about this for a long time, ever since we've been talking about the needs that we have for the softball field
Yeah.
and that drainage, which we can't get that next MPDS permit without finishing
An
this
existing
one.
one?
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah.
So are we okay with having that on next Thursday's agenda?
Are you okay with that? Okay. Yep.
Yes, supportive.
Oh, go ahead, Tom.
Yes, did anybody contact the contractors and the engineers that built the middle school and, go over this problem?
We did, yeah, absolutely. We had Barry Eyes it out, Jim Zika and all, yes. Yep. And, their contention is basically that we weren't running the pumps enough. We just weren't keeping up with the volume in.
I
versus-
think part of that
versus the
was,
volume out.
everybody thought it was a retention basin, which should have water in it, and a detention basin is supposed to get rid of the water. So I think that was part of the
That was
problem.
part of it.
Did Barry Osgood design it originally?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And like I said, when the Conservation District wrote this up as one of their findings, Barry Isaac initially thought that we could get this done for under 20,000, but once we gave some of the contractors, we had Spear excavating out,
Mhm.
And
There's
they
no
said-
way.
They said no way.
It's $20,000 worth of stone.
Yeah, they said no
Yeah.
way, so.
Maybe we could sell
So
all
what's-
those Italian benches to help.
Yeah, I know.
So
Yeah.
this
Don't get me
engineering
started on that.
proposal is 9,500.
Yeah.
So this will get us, they'll design the bid package, they'll post it on Penn Bid, they'll, vet contractors, do all the AIA paperwork, et cetera, and then they'll give us, construction management services when the contractors are working.
Right.
What we don't know at this point is, how much the bids are gonna be that they come back.
Did they have any rough estimates for the bids?
Not yet, well, they initially estimated about $20,000 to fix this.
In addition to the design
And-
services?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, so-
but I think it's gonna come higher than that.
Yeah, I think so too.
I think you're probably in the, I don't know, I wouldn't say 40,000, but I'm always low. So,
Yeah.
we'll have to see what happens.
Okay, so go ahead and put it on the agenda and we'll get that voted on.
Okay.
And now on to a fun topic, a good topic. It's one we've also been talking about for a long time.
Yes.
So for background, the class system that we have, which is our panic buttons basically, they came through the county and the county's changing what they're doing. And we didn't have to pay before, now we would have to pay and it's a lot. So Doug has done a ton of research and also, along with Andrea, I believe, worked on this grant award for a new panic system. There's background.
Yeah, so we were basically forced into a new system because the county announced that their previous system that was supplied to all the school district was being sunsetted at the end of 2021. And they had pre-selected a vendor and integrated that vendor's solution into their dispatch system. So, they basically said, here, use this vendor. And it's a significant cost. The 3-year cost for this system is about $80,000. The grant is for 75% of that, so there's a 25% match. So the grant we received was for $60,000 and change.
Yep.
So over the first 3 years, the school district is on the hook for about $20,000 and the grant will pay $60,000.
Yep.
And then in year 4, we'll just have to decide what level of maintenance agreement we want on the system.
Right.
There's the Cadillac version is $14,000 a year, and then I think there's a $6,000 version, which is no firmware updates, only 1 test per year instead of 2, things like that. So when we get there, I'll do a comparison chart for everybody, and we can make a decision which way we want to.
I think we saw information on this a few months ago.
What's that?
I think we saw information on this a few months ago.
Yes, yeah, there's a board update. The system is installed at this point in all of the schools. We do have a slightly different setup in Hereford
Right.
because of not being in Montgomery County.
Right.
That panic system there is actually going to auto dial the state police out of Reading when a button is pushed there, which is a little bit different route of travel than the buttons that we have in our Montgomery County property.
Right.
I was being kind here because.
I am being kind.
Yeah, I won't be so kind and not being mean. Doug's being kind in terms of what we were told we were going to get exactly what the class system was versus them leaving, in essence, leaving Hereford out because it's not in the county and they say that no one watches that switch. And he said he's done a tremendous amount of work and had me on a call with some director. He has it in writing that it's going to be the same and then eventually it's not. So that's the difference with Hereford. They kind of said, well, what you thought you may have had for all those other years, since you never hit the button, you may not have even had that. So it's, it was when it was put in, it included Hereford as a Montgomery. Yeah, that's I'm saying he's being kind, but that's the truth. I mean, you need to know that that's what we were told. Fortunately, we didn't have to use it, right? That's the goal. But that's definitely an issue that we were kind of sold one thing and then have the other piece there. I think Doug's going to do due diligence. He literally has an email from person second in command that says, yes, exactly the same, this is how it's gonna be. It's their provider, it's all the same thing, but it seems to be leaving, you know, the building outside of the county in the lurch. So as a workaround, there's another piece to that,
Thank you.
but it's, you know, definitely the effort to address that, so.
Yeah.
And we're going to have that same direct dial capability in the other schools. It'll actually, 2 signals will go out on the other locations. One will go directly to Montgomery County's dispatch, and another will go to state police,
Okay,
kind of
good.
simultaneously. We weren't really comfortable with the delay that's inherent in the signal going to Montgomery County and then the dispatcher there, because the high school, for example, is a state police territory, picking up the phone and saying, hey, state police, you have to get there for High School. We weren't comfortable with that delay.
Yep.
So that's why we wanted to add the direct dial, the dialers as well, to go direct to the state police, the local state police barracks to cut down on that.
Yeah, it's one thing that the county can call Marlboro Township, and they're right there.
Yeah.
Or they can call
Yeah.
Pennsburg, and they're right there.
Yeah.
Or East Greenville, they're right
Yeah,
there.
and
So
Hereford, right, and
there's a lot of a
Hereford.
difference.
Different state police barracks that we've had some response time issues with in
Yeah.
the past, so.
Yep, exactly. All right, any more questions
So
about
there's a
that?
motion on that, we have to explain the motion.
Yeah, so,
Okay.
I'm sorry, there is a motion Thursday, and it's kind of just procedural. Somehow, I'm assigned in this grant system as an authorized representative, which I am, but accepting the grant on behalf of the district is in my task queue, and I couldn't, despite all my efforts, I couldn't get it changed to Dan, you know, as a board secretary. So the motion is simply for the board to grant me the authority to accept the award on behalf of the district,
Sure.
so we don't commit, you know, perjury.
Nice, good idea.
Yeah, I wasn't interested in that. So
No.
that's what the motion you'll see.
No
next
jail
Thursday.
terms
It's
for you,
just
good.
authorizing, kind of buttoning up and authorizing me to accept the award on.
And what is our line item for bail money?
Yeah.
It depends on who. There's nothing in Doug's.
Got it.
Yeah, budget.
Don't worry, I'll come get you.
Just make sure you accept it and don't decline it.
That's it.
Trust me, yes.
All right.
And just another point.
And just, oh, sorry, just, not to toot our own horn, but there was only 6 school districts in the state that got this grant,
Saw that.
and none in the county, other than us.
Awesome.
So,
Yes.
we
Congratulations.
were excited, because we put a
Yes.
lot of work into it. In fact, I found out about the grant from one of my colleagues at Perkiomen Valley, and they opted not to even apply, I guess because of how onerous it was. And then we wound up, you know, getting the award, so we were,
That's
it
cool.
was a pretty
Well,
exciting
thank you.
moment when we found out, we got out an
Yes.
email, there was some hooting and hollering.
I can imagine, yep.
All my emails provide hoot and holler.
They do, yes, they do. Yes, they do.
One way or another.
Yep.
And actually, you know, to piggyback on that, so we were already in the process of it, so we'd already had board motion to approve using capital reserve funds for this. As it's going to be funded at least, you know, 75% through the grant. It's probably not the last time you hear from the financial side, because I need to double check on how we need to handle it at this point, because we have made a payment. We had already made the payment, I think, prior to getting the notification that we were awarded the bid. So we had paid a portion of this out of the capital reserve fund. And I know typically, if you're gonna try and put money back into the capital reserve or make any kind of transaction back to general, that there's certain steps and procedural things that we
Yes.
need to do. And I know we've come across that in the past. So I need to touch base with our auditors just to make sure that we're doing that the proper way. It's not as simple as just making an accounting entry to move it from capital reserve back to
I
general
think the
fund.
board has to approve it.
Or making cash movements into capital reserve. They don't like that. So, this will come up again as far as a conversation on the financial side.
Okay.
So I just wanted to keep that on everybody's radar.
Yep, sounds good. Okay, all right, let's move on to new business. IT whiteboard projector installation project. And please don't tell me it's at the middle school. I will
It's
correct
not,
it.
it's
Okay.
not.
That's good.
This project is actually an IT project that I offered, Mr. Roth, that I would bring forward to the committee. So essentially what this project entails is a replacement of the projectors in the 3 elementary schools.
Okay.
To go from, a projector similar to that to what they call a short throw projector, which is, mounted on the wall right above the whiteboard. And all sorts of fancy functionality that put in the hands of the teachers. The middle school has them already. The high school now has them. So this project is to expand that functionality to the elementary schools. We already have all of the equipment. So we already have the projectors, we already have the whiteboards, we already have all of the cabling. That was purchased through, I think, ESSER funds? Through ESSER funds. Now kind of to the rub, we have to have it installed. So we've done some of these piecemeal over the years through a local electrical contractor, because some of it involves, well, there's wiring, HDMI cables and things, moving an outlet and whatnot. And they just, so they mount the projector, do all the cabling, electric, and then hang the whiteboard essentially. Because this particular project is about 80 classrooms, we run into the same bid threshold issue. So unfortunately, the labor associated with installing these exceeds the bid threshold. So we reached out to Kyle to see if there was any above board legal way that we could, get these installed without having to issue a public bid. And there was one avenue that we attempted, which was through KPN, a purchasing network, through a company called the Gordian Group, which is a job order contracting group. So essentially, it's a general contractor that's on a cooperative contract. So we went to them and requested a quote from them for the installation, and it came back at $490,000 or something outrageous.
Yep.
Outrageous. So, and just as a frame of reference, we were getting them installed for about $500 a classroom. So we were expecting something in the $40,000, $50,000 range, and it came in 10 times higher. So we quickly dismissed that option.
That was after the heart attack?
Yes,
Got
yes.
it.
And we're left with a similar scenario to the detention basin. We now have to put the installation labor out to bid. So in order to do that, we have to, unfortunately, find an engineer or an architect that can essentially take our specifications and put the public bid package, or wrapper around our specifications, put it on pen bid, and go through that process, and then see what we get through the pen bid, public bid process. Unfortunately, it's also going to be prevailing wage, because it's going to exceed 25,000, so that's going to increase our costs. The good news is there is sufficient budget for this. This is in Jim's budget for this school year. So the thought would be to work through this bid process through the spring, and then right after school's out, we hit it hard and get the money spent this school year. So I offered to Mr. Roth that I would help him locate an engineer or an architect that could help us craft this bid package, and then march it through the public bid and see.
Is that anything Provident can help us with, or not?
I was thinking either maybe ICS, maybe Barry Isaac, maybe Muhlenberg Green that did the entrances.
Perfect.
It's not a lot of work, I don't think.
No.
Unfortunately, it's these bid packages, like for example, the Marlboro chiller, small project, that bid package is 100 pages.
Yep,
because it has all of the bonding requirements and prevailing wage and all the AIA documents and
yep,
non-collusion affidavits. It's a pretty formal process to develop a public bid. So, so similar to the detention basin, we're gonna have to solicit a proposal from an engineer or an architect to help us craft this bid package, bring that forward to the committee here and to the board at large
okay.
and proceed in that way. I'll kind of bite my tongue when we start talking about bid thresholds and prevailing wage thresholds in the state of Pennsylvania because
They never move.
they move $200 a year and they're so outdated.
Yes.
And this is what happens.
Right. It
You know,
just
we can
costs
get
us
this
more money.
project done for $40,000,
Yep,
but because that exceeds the bid threshold by $19,000,
Mhm.
they're forcing us to probably spend twice that.
right.
Because, you have to.
What if you broke it into 3 different projects?
You can't,
Yeah, we can't do that.
Can't do it as phases or anything?
no.
Not by school,
Hmm?
not by school.
No, no.
Yeah, as far as, breaking down the purchases in order to avoid the bid threshold is frowned upon. So, yeah, it's,
Mhm.
I've had people frown at me before.
Yeah, we're kind of stuck on this one.
it's a little more than frowned upon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Put it that way, so, that would get us in some hot water.
You had mentioned that we had companies come in and do some of these piecemeal for us before. Okay, were they local companies or?
Yep,
Yeah. Mhm.
Okay.
One was
RJ,
RJ Electric.
yeah,
And we fully expect them to bid on this project. We hope they do. They have a lot of experience installing it, so we're hoping that,
yep,
they can sharpen their pencil a little more so than some of the other contractors, but they're gonna have to pay prevailing wage and
It's a shame we're being recorded. What if we hired a couple of individuals for a temporary project? Would we be able to do something like that?
As far as in-house,
Yes.
Well, no, because in public school code, there's even lower threshold of, I think it's $10,000. Is it 10?
honestly, I thought it was 5.
wow.
But we can't even do
Can't do
that
that.
amount of construction in-house without violating public school code, so.
Okay,
It's all about the prevailing wage.
yeah, I know, I know.
So
And
it's,
the other point that I know we've brought up and, kind of ran it past Kyle, because to me, conceptually, it doesn't make sense. If we went through KPN and came back with from a cooperative that, hey, this is going to be a $490,000 project, anything under that, logically would go, well, that should be okay, but it's not because it's not under the cooperative purchasing. So it seems counterintuitive, and to Doug's point, it's going to be more costly than it really should be. But to make sure that we're in compliance with all the rules and regulations, we're kind of stuck moving in this direction with the project.
yeah.
So KPN is sort of like a Co-Stars type
It
of
is,
thing?
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's like Peplum for IT equipment, there's
Okay.
Co-Stars, KPN is similar.
Okay, I kind of figured.
Yeah, and we thought at least we'd take a shot at it, and they came back at $5,000 a classroom.
Wow,
Which
that's
was-
crazy.
Just
That's crazy. Well, any questions about that?
So the next
We all
step
are.
is we'll bring a proposal forward to this group from a firm that will help us with
Yep.
this. I'm hoping it's
Somebody we know.
somebody we know, and
Yeah.
it's a few $1,000s to do this for us,
Mhm.
and then, get out the bid and see what we get from contractors.
While we're talking about the IT part of this, when we had talked about this before, and I forgot about it till just now, do you think, I feel like Jim Roth from IT should be here if he needs to be here with us for facilities? Because I feel like that's all wrapped together. Just thinking out loud.
No,
So,
I've had that same thought. Some school districts call this committee operations and safety.
mhm,
So you know, an IT or transportation or food service, if they need to get
Yeah,
40 folks, this would be the
the place to be.
place to do that.
Okay.
So it's just something we can. kick
Okay,
around.
I was just thinking, I forgot about it.
We had Jim on curriculum instruction because we don't want it to be disconnected there.
True.
That's really what it's about. It's about instruction and,
Yeah,
you know, I'm going back and forth with Jim in terms of my seeing him as an instructional side of the organization versus the operations side. Not that it couldn't be here or both, but I mean,
Yep.
that was the thought was, you know, we're not gonna say, okay, I'm gonna teach you math now, now let's play, now let's work on some technology. They should be integrated. So that was the whole point, is to
Yep,
keep
that makes
that the
sense.
main focus. So,
That
I mean,
makes sense.
this topic here, obviously, needs to be invited when we're talking about it. I think you just took it to bring it forward.
Oh, yeah, that's fine, that's fine, I was just thinking,
Yeah.
it just reminded me
Yeah.
that we were thinking about, I was thinking
Right.
about
Yeah.
that. Okay. All right, we'll move on to professional services / roofing. And I don't think I like the sound of this one either.
Well, yeah, so we're obviously through the Giza project, we're addressing a number of our, you know, HVAC needs throughout the district. The next major thing that I see coming down the pike is roofing work. You know, Marlboro, for example, those roofing systems are 30 years old
Yep.
at this point.
Yeah,
You know, everybody thinks Marlboro, you're like, oh, you know, new school, it was 91.
yep.
The high school, for example, there are roofing systems on the high school that I can't determine when they were installed.
Really?
And it's only a few. We have good records for most of them.
Okay,
But, you know, we're having some leak issues that are ongoing. We also have an issue, if you recall, at the admin roof at 4-5.
mhm,
And my thought process here, similar to the Giza, is I'd like to essentially hire or contract with a roofing consultant that would be our agent during these projects. So, you know, the one route you can take is you can go right to a roofing contractor on a PA state contractor, CoStars, and they do everything for you.
okay,
They can do the design, the install, supervise the contractors. But it's a little bit like Fox watching the hen house in that scenario.
yeah,
And we could have done that model in the Giza too, but, you know, going with Provident and ICS as our agents and the oversight that they provide and the, you know, the amount of money that they've been able to wring out of that project.
yep,
It's been a good experience and well worth our investment in that.
yes,
So I'd like, there's a company that a number of the school districts use, and I would like to just go to them and see what services they can provide us. I believe they can actually design for us and do construction management, et cetera.
okay.
I don't anticipate anything this summer because,
There's enough going on.
there's enough going on this summer, and because of supply chain issues that I'm hearing from all of my colleagues, they can't get the materials that they need, like ISO board, the insulation board is a year out.
Yep,
No one can get it, so they're having to postpone their roofing projects. So my thought is to look to, not this summer, but next summer, to probably go after either a roofing system at the high school or 4-5, or both, depending on,
yep,
you know, bandwidth and available capital money.
okay,
The other thing that makes this a little trickier than it did 10 or 15 years ago is so many different types of roofs now. And a lot of the contractors try to sell you on roof coating systems, like, hey, you know, yes, you're having issues with this roof, but we can come in and recondition it and recoat it,
yeah,
and we'll give you 10 years warranty on it. Well, I'm not, maybe that's fine,
yeah,
but I'd really like an expert to work with me to
Evaluate.
determine whether or not that's the right approach for this system versus that system versus this system.
yep,
But I think that is probably our next major, capital project, is to start addressing some of the.
So you'd like to contact them soon, start talking now, so we can.
So we're in
projects
a
for next
position to get
summer.
a project bid and started for
Yes,
the summer,
23.
not this summer, next summer.
Yeah,
Yes.
23
Right.
summer. Okay.
just wanted to confirm that.
Yes. Yeah.
Who is that? Did you?
Well, the company I'm thinking of, it's an individual's name, it's Mark Sobek Roofing.
Oh, okay.
I know there's a few school districts that I'm aware of, they use their services, and everybody I've spoken to has spoken highly of them.
Okay.
And, they'd be looking out for our best interest and not,
Not just trying to sell us something.
right, not trying to
They
sell
do.
us a high margin roof coating or roof overlay that, may not be in our best interest long term.
Okay,
It's like bath fitters.
exactly.
Yeah.
Fix it in a day.
Right.
Looks good for the wall.
So what's happening in a lot of districts, and to an extent here too, we're fixing leaks that we encounter versus doing like a whole roof system replacement, just sort of as a stopgap.
Right,
Because the roofing prices have gotten so astronomical, you could have a $200,000 roof cost, $275 now, but I could make a $5,000 repair and hopefully get another couple of years out of it, and if the prices hopefully recorrect,
yeah,
you come out ahead of the game.
Mhm.
And it's, $200,000 now in 2 years versus
Yep.
$275 now because of all the supply chain issues.
yep, makes sense.
And a lot of material we just can't get. It's,
Yeah. So if you bring him in, are you only going to look at those three, what was the Hereford High School, the high school, and the 4-5 center? Or are you going to have him
yeah,
check all the buildings?
Wow.
You might want to consider that.
yeah, no, I would
So we
consider
get
that.
no-
I would consider that. They don't, yeah, with the priority being the high school and 4-5 and probably Marlboro. But, and obviously not the middle school,
No,
but Hereford, because we'd like to develop a plan, right?
Yeah,
We'd like to get a capital plan together specific to roofing that says, maybe every summer or every other summer, we're
doing something.
doing something.
And a 5 to 10 year plan for maintenance, yes,
Yeah,
because that's what's killed us in the past.
yes, yes. Okay, well, good, I'm glad you gave us the lowdown and this ahead of time on that. We'll at least be thinking about it.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes. All right, any more questions about that? Good? Okay. All right, I'll move us on to facility naming request.
We received a request to name facility form from Dr. Farris, specific to Dr. Pershing. And I can't speak a lot about Dr. Pershing because he obviously predates me, but he was a former superintendent. And I believe he was superintendent when Marlboro was built.
Completed, yes, when it was
Okay.
completed.
And maybe, Dr. Farris, maybe you could fill us in on,
I would let Dr. Bonnekamp, I know Dr. Pershing, I was in the district, working in the district, and had a lot of contact with school personnel, and I got to hear some of the things that he did for our school district. Professionally, I am not where I could really discuss his professional accomplishments. Dr. Bonnekamp can do much better than I could at that.
Yeah, he's been here forever. Yeah, really.
Yeah, I'd like to add a few things. Dr. Pershing's the longest-serving superintendent in the school district history from 1974 to 1994. That's 20 years. I think his record could get broken by Dr. Roach, but it'll take a while. But he was just such a gentleman, and he just looked ahead. And one of the things I think he accomplished that was really nice was that every one of our schools were named National Blue Ribbon Schools. And that was in, the high school was the last one in 1974. And at that time, there were 15,000 school districts in the United States, and only 15 of them had blue ribbon schools at the elementary school, middle school, and high school level. So, I mean, that was really quite an accomplishment. And he was a leader. He could always see ahead, very supportive, always helpful. I could use an example. It probably won't make a lot of sense, but I used to have a baseball team, and we would raise funds, and we'd bring the Philadelphia Eagles in to play basketball in January, about this time of the year. And there was a snowy night, and Ron Jaworski from South Jersey and Carmichael were coming up, driving up, and it was snowing very hard. And Jaworski said, "We'll come up, but if you want us to, but it's snowing down here in South Jersey." I said, "It's snowing up here too, but you'll be okay." Well, coming from 663 from Quakertown to Pennsburg in a snowstorm was something that they hardly didn't expect it to be that difficult. But they were there, and there was a lot of work to be done, you know, get sodas out and all that. And who came over with Dr. Persing? Worked for a couple hours, getting everything put together. He was always there to help people. And he's a resident of our community for 48 years. And I just think we've recognized, I think, 22 people from nurses' suites to football stadiums. And here's a gentleman who was a superintendent for 20 years, who really put a focus on academics and students. And I think we've kind of missed the boat here. We kind of neglected it inadvertently. And I really think Dr. Persing deserves to be recognized. And
He's a
John
nice
talked
man, I
about
see him.
maybe something at the Marlboro school level.
Yeah, he's a nice man. I see him at breakfast a lot on Sunday mornings. Strawberry House.
George, do you know how many years Don Thompson was superintendent
Sorry,
here?
John, I didn't hear.
You said Dr. Thompson, how long was he here?
Dr. Thompson, superintendent for 8 years. 8 years. And Stanley Kurtz had been a supervisor and principal at East Greenville for 24 years, and
Yeah.
was started it for 9 years, I think, 33 years.
Yeah, yeah,
Maybe 8 years.
yeah.
Stanley Kurtz.
And,
Unfortunately, of the 22 recognitions, there's only one that doesn't exist anymore, and that's the Education Center, was the Stanley Kurtz Center in East Greenville.
Yeah, I
It's the only
remember
one
that.
that doesn't exist.
and Tom Persing and Charlie Ways would go around the country and present and really put up a perk on the map.
Yeah.
And they came up to Blue Mountain when I first started there. And they did a presentation on curriculum and academics, and yeah, they put us on the map.
And the one thing, I think if you check the years he was here, our school district was in the top ratings in the county and the state. And anybody in the state of Pennsylvania, if you were traveling around, you said you were from Upper Perk, they'd say, "Oh, that's where Dr. Persing is." Or if you'd say something about Dr. Persing, they'd say, "Oh, that's Upper Perk Yeoman School District." And I think you can find that information from a lot of people. And he, like George said, he still lives in the valley. He's 90 years old.
Yeah.
I don't know how long he's going to be living, but it would be something nice to do while he's still living. He's not aware of any of this. And that's why I kind of limited the number of references that I sent.
Mhm.
And he was a Marine.
So, it's been a while since I read your request. So I see you said a plaque at Marlboro.
Well, I think something at Marl, I think that would be a place to consider, since he was the superintendent here, when that was the school that was finished when he was here. The other ones had either been completed when he got here or renovated.
Right. So I mean, you're talking a little one, a big one, what do you have thoughts on it? or-
I don't have any ideas on that. I think, you know, the board or people who were involved with him professionally may be able to speak to that.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
How married or entrenched are we, or, you know, what is the parameters of maintaining the Marlboro label of that elementary school? I mean, if we change the name of Marlboro Elementary to Tom Persing Elementary, who's,
That's,
I hate to interrupt. I don't think you should start doing that with the name, because I think Upper Perk, our school district is unique. People talk about schools, they say Marlboro School.
That's
Now,
the point.
I'm somewhat of a relatively new person here, I know where that is.
Yep.
Irving School, I know where that is.
Yep.
I think that would be very nice,
Yep.
but I think we have a unique situation, other than we don't call the high school Red Hill High School.
Yep, good point. Yeah.
So I don't think you're actually requesting renaming the school, you're just
No, I brought
asking.
that up.
No,
Right, okay.
Because I get, I get the whole Dr. Persing thing, and, he was here when I was going through high school, and, I was
He
just,
deserves something.
yeah.
Are there any plaques or anything over at that school now? Like in the entrance, saying when it was constructed, who
There is
constructed
one,
it?
yeah, there's one right outside the main office there, yeah.
Okay. Do you have any idea what's on it, or? I'm
I
just
don't
looking for
remember.
Sam's
background.
on it.
Well, she should be on all of it, yeah, right.
It's
It's on
like
forever.
your typical dedication plaque, it's good size, it's got
Came
listing.
with the building,
Yeah,
probably.
right.
Yeah.
But your thought is a plaque in addition to that,
Mhm.
recognizing Dr. Persing.
Person, yeah.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know if it would be practical now, the sign out in front of Marlboro School, the big brick sign, if they could attach it, I don't know. I don't want to be part of that decision, but I think something, this maybe should
Typically,
be somewhere. in
typically the
this-
requests come in with we want to do the cafeteria, or we want to do this classroom, or the library, or
Yeah.
you suggested the school. I mean, that's typically what it is. It sounds like you're not really naming the facility, it's a recognition of longevity, or just a recognition of the impact to the district type of recognition that, I mean.
Do you have an organization that wants to buy this plaque, or do you
No,
think the
no,
district should buy it, or?
No,
I'm just asking, I don't know.
no, I don't.
But who's gonna, the district should, is that what you're saying?
I think the district should. I'm sure that if they insisted that they get somebody to finance it, I'm sure we could get some kind of help, but I don't think that's the public's responsibility at this point. I think the school district owes this to him.
School district needs some roofs too.
Is there anything in the policy saying whether there has to be paid by an external?
No,
I'll need to
I don't
review
think
the
so.
policy.
I don't believe so.
I'm not against it, I can say that, I'll fully consider it. It's good to recognize the people in Upper Perk that are working for Upper Perk and have benefit Upper Perk, whether it be our former administrators, our current educators, or our students, everybody here should get that recognition for what they've done and deserve.
But there are some of those, I mean, there's the voice
Yes.
system that's right there on the wall for, I forget what, not academic, but I know he may already be on that one there. And, I'm trying to keep up with Giselle. COVID has really put a hole in some of the other recognition systems that they have with academic awards, and I mean, so you were on the one that we sat in there and made decisions on those ones and haven't been able to get them in yet. They're in the pipeline. So there's a couple other ways to recognize people, whether it's, if it's a plaque at Marlboro or something like that. I don't know if it's the name of the facilities piece, but that's a discussion. I'll hold the policy here to see. Because there was something in there, because I think the process was about having, if it gets approved, and what was it, and then it comes back to take a look at.
Yes.
I think funding was there, not an outside group, but I think, what's the policy number? Property, so.
Just had it.
It
It's near
is
the
701.1. Well, not the policy, just the request. Like, we did the stadium, but that was paid for,
Yes.
not by the school district.
Seeing as it's the first time we're presented with this, can we bring it back next month? I'd like to take a walk around at the various buildings, see the plaques and things that we have up for people, see if I can get an idea, or, see if anybody else has ideas as to what they'd like to put up there. Since it was just a suggestion, coming to us, and we don't have anything definitive to put up for them,
Nothing
no
specific.
pre-design or anything like that, so I'd like to walk around and see what we've done for other people in the past, and we move forward from there.
Well, I agree with that, but I think there's a lot of, and I think that's the way it should be done, but there are a lot of people on this board who do not know who Dr. Persing are. but all of the people on this board are benefiting from the things that he did from our district, and the students that have gone through after him are benefiting from the things that he did too.
Yes, yes, I realize that.
JP,
So,
thoughts?
that's why.
I don't have an issue with, like you just said, I've not heard of him until, this request came through, but from everything that you have conveyed and, included in this request, it sounds like he did, terrific work for this district and definitely deserves some kind of recognition. I'm in agreement with Keith, this is the first we're seeing of it. We don't have a definite plan or definite, plan of attack. So I don't think anybody here is against it. I don't want to speak for everybody. I think we just need to put
Yeah,
a little more
and I
homework
guess
on it.
a little direction of exactly what you were thinking. And again, who's paying for it? So we definitely need roofs.
And we can figure that out as we
Yeah.
go along.
Yeah.
I mean, because in the past, we've done gardens for teachers, plaques for people on the walls, naming for the athletics, and your suggestion was either doing something at the entranceway or by the current existing signage out there. So we might as well take a look and
See what kind of room
see
we
what we
have.
can figure out.
Is that acceptable?
Yeah.
Good with that?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, but I
Okay,
just
just
think that
checking.
somewhere his name should be permanently attached to something in this district.
Okay. All right, so we'll try to get around to, it's a little hard these days getting around to the buildings, but we'll see, maybe we can gather up some info on it and see what we've got.
And I
Even if
think
I
we-
have to call down there tomorrow, what do you got down there? Somebody walk me. Somebody walk me my eyes. Okay, all right, we'll keep working on it. Okay?
Yeah, thank you. Thank
Sure.
you.
Anything else on that? No? Okay. All right, then I'm gonna move to community partner application for Upper Park takedown, not touchdown.
Wrestling club.
You just, I know, I was just checking.
This was just, I received a community partner application from the Takedown Club requesting, that their group be recognized as a community partner, as defined in policy 707, specifically the AR. My initial take on it was that, while recognizing that they do have a long-standing relationship with the district, I don't really believe that they meet the definition of a community partner as it's described in the AR. But, that's certainly up for discussion here with the committee and then potentially the full board.
Do you have that handy, just to what the definition of community
Sure.
partners?
Sure, it's organizations and/or groups that are identified by the district as one, providing activities that benefit a significant segment of the upper Perkiomen citizens. I don't think it passes
Yeah.
that test. Two, having an existing long-term relationship with the district. And three, sharing in the mission of promoting the educational, social, and developmental growth of the district's students may be recognized as UPSD community partners.
Okay.
And they need to meet all three
I
of
don't
those
think it does
conditions.
either.
No, because this will open the door for the other youth groups.
Yeah,
This is,
and then again, we'll be bankrupted with, we don't want to pay for
we're already
custodians.
struggling with that whole thing with 707. When did you receive this stuff?
Recently.
Yeah.
In the past week, probably.
Yeah, I'm looking to see what they did.
It did come in on the heels of
Yeah.
one of the
September.
estimates
Okay.
being presented, so, yeah.
That's not,
That will just snowball.
yeah, I don't really think, it's not enough of the district.
Right, the first point,
Yeah,
it
it's a
loses
good
it right
portion,
there.
there's a lot of people, but I don't think there's
All the other
A
groups,
an
significant-
overwhelming majority, yeah.
Right,
all the other youth groups can claim that.
Yes,
right.
yes,
December 17th.
okay. I mean, I'm thinking you can kind of get your answer from
Yeah,
what
and
we just
particularly
said.
because that policy is under significant review at this point.
Yes.
you know,
Yeah, you hate to start the large community partner. Like, I mean, if we've already allowed the exemptions that we've allowed, maybe now, since we're working on that policy, is not the right time to,
To delve into this?
exactly, yeah. So maybe the answer to them is, we're already working on exemptions, we're working on the policy, and we don't feel at this time we don't have any community partners right now, so we don't have any.
Right.
So we'd like to kind of keep it that way until,
Really, the exemption gets you the same relief.
Exactly.
That's going on right now,
Yeah.
because I believe if you read through it, they're in the
For
process.
now.
yep,
For right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, for right now, I mean, you just,
Yeah. I mean, I
Well,
think
there was a
that's
policy
part-
committee meeting the other night, and we told them then that, for now, we're going to continue operating as we had been until we iron everything out and
Yep.
come out with,
yeah, I think that's
policy
as
and
far as we
procedures.
can go right now. I don't think we need to delve into big partnerships that we're not ready to deal with.
it's not required at this moment in time.
Yes.
But don't you think the answer to them for the denial is that we don't feel they meet the
Yeah.
criteria for
Yeah.
community partner?
As written.
As
yeah.
opposed to what you were saying, Melanie, we don't feel that this is the time right now.
Yeah.
I think we gotta be careful how we answer.
Well, in policy, will you be looking at that definition at all?
Yeah, we need to.
Sure.
Well, we can give the twofold answer of,
Yeah, twofold
under
answer.
the current definition, you do not meet it, and at this time, since the policy is still being reviewed and revised,
Now's not the time.
now's not the time to apply.
Yeah, we're not accepting community partner
There you go.
applications at this time.
Suspended for now.
Yeah, it's just, that's a good word.
Perfect.
Okay. You good with that?
Yep.
Okay. All righty. Last is summer camp request, kids to pros.
Yeah, this, just real quick on this one, I know we're over our hour time.
Oh, yeah.
A few of our principals have been contacted by this organization requesting the use of one or more of our schools in the summer for hosting their camp, essentially. I've done some research on their website. It's a commercial for-profit organization that hosts summer camps, and they're, arts-related, STEM-related, and it appears they're shopping for venues in this area.
Yeah, they're not in here now.
No, I couldn't
No.
This is
find,
like northern Jersey.
yeah, I couldn't find anything close. I
Yeah.
tried a few different zip codes, and they didn't have
Nothing.
anything in
Yeah, I
this
looked at their
area.
list of current
Yeah.
locations, like I
Did
said.
the same thing.
It
Yeah.
was northern
Yeah.
Jersey, I think, was
Right.
the closest they had to
Wow.
this area.
Well, I think in addition to that, how much work are we gonna have going on at our schools over the
Right,
summer?
right.
I don't think this is a
Right,
good year to do
there's a couple
that.
concerns I have. One is just the amount of work that will have
Yep.
taking place this summer. Two, just the disruption that would potentially cause to our summer cleaning routine,
Mhm.
having those spaces occupied. And it's full day camps. I looked at their schedule, it's, 8:30 to 5
Wow.
type of thing. I just,
And they probably wanted it for free too, right? No,
no, they're
I'm
actually
just
playing
kidding.
that we could,
20 to 30
compensate.
grand.
We
Yeah,
could
at
pay
least.
$20,000 for our
Right.
school district, but
They're assuming that that we're gonna have, the community's gonna have the interest in attending the camp.
Right.
Well, they'd
Right.
also have they would have to have a significant volume to do that also, because when I looked at the website, it listed as like $75 for a camp, for an individual. So if you're looking at $20,000 to $30,000 for us, how many people are they gonna be putting in
That's a
here?
lot.
And for how long?
Right.
So, right now, no, I would have no interest in it.
Yeah.
Unless they could propose a plan to us as to how much they would need, the facilities, things like that. But with your current plans going on,
yeah, that was gonna be you beat me to it, but that was gonna be my recommendation.
Okay.
Politely pass
Yep.
on the opportunity. and-
Yeah. Yeah. I
and
agree.
there's nothing that doesn't say that we could, in future, once we get some of these projects completed, that we could start doing something like that on our own through community partners.
Yeah, people that actually
Such
live
as-
around
Yeah, local.
here. Yeah, right.
Takedown Club, maybe the community college,
Yeah,
you can get somebody up here to do something,
okay,
or over here.
okay. So no on summer camp request, kids to pros, sorry. Okay. Alrighty. Anyone have anything else, any other new business you want to talk about?
I do, if the community members don't.
Got it.
Doug, any update, or anything new, or what did I miss regarding exterior cameras?
I'm sorry, Meg, I couldn't hear you.
Exterior
Any
cameras.
update or anything that I missed on the update on exterior cameras?
The only real update that we've received the first wave of cameras. They're physically here. We have ordered an additional round of cameras. So we're making some progress. The holdup really is the kind of back-end storage device or the storage system for this additional video. So there's the series of steps that have to occur. On IT's project list is expanding the storage capabilities of our most current or most new system that we can add these cameras into. So it's definitely on Mr. Roth's list of work that he's planning to get done, I believe, this spring. And then we can follow behind. Once we have the storage capacity, we can start to work to get them installed.
Okay. And earlier you mentioned about the softball field in conjunction with the detention pond issues. Is the progress on the softball field upgrades stopped because of that? Or held up because of that? Or where are we at with, and Alan, maybe you want to chime in, where are we at with the whole resolution agreement and what's happening with softball?
Well, I would say, to answer your question, some of it is held up. So that the specific drainage project is held up. We didn't want to go down the route of a batting tunnel, without the drainage being in place, because that would be a mess. We do have the bleachers. We've received 2 of the 6 bleachers and assembled those. We've actually placed one already at the varsity softball field. The second one is built and ready to go over within the next week or 2. The other items, like scoreboard and netting, I think I'm missing one.
I can't remember what the
Are certainly on the list. I've included them in my budget. And whether, we want to wait that long or not, I'm not real sure, but.
You don't want to spend money and then have to re-spend money to refix something after we do the drainage.
Are we upgrading the lights, or are we leaving the lights as they are and waiting for OCR to tell us if they are good enough?
I didn't have any plans to upgrade the lights. We did, as part of the Giza project, I asked them to look at those lights and provide sort of a ballpark
It was a lot.
price to replace them, and
Why do I think it was like $216,000 or something? It was a lot.
It was a lot. I thought it was pushing $400,000. I'd have to look back. I don't have the
Yeah, I can't
number in
remember.
front of me, but, we all got some serious sticker shock. And,
Yeah, it was a lot.
So we're just gonna wait and
That's
do
part
our
of the thing is
upgrade?
we're waiting on OCR. Everything's been submitted, pictures
Yeah.
on everything. We've overcommitted in terms of, the sports and trying to address that.
Yeah, it'll be a back and forth
Right.
until they are satisfied.
Yep.
Okay.
OCR is Office of
Civil rights.
Civil Rights.
Yeah.
It's our Title IX issues.
Yes.
And Justin from Kyle's firm was the one that helped
Yeah.
put that together and, and trying to err on the side of being proactive and showing the steps that we're taking, all the way down to as some of you heard today with volleyball, with Taylor and the club and getting ready for that next sport and, and that type of thing.
And then my final thing is, for the committee to consider, I'm going to resurrect my request to investigate and potentially, hopefully, at some point, figure out a way to open up that track for community members to use to walk, and me included. And I'll tell you what, folks, my rationale in this is, I don't know how 707 is going to end up. But if we wind up essentially giving our facilities away to these youth groups for free, then I want to be using that track. Myself and my fellow senior citizens who I'm speaking for. So I can't figure out why we can't figure out how to open that track in the summer for community to use. We're all smart people. Other school districts do it and find a way. And so that's where I'm coming from, and I'm just rolling it out there for resurrection and consideration.
Well, it's a good suggestion. You know, I know that other districts do it also. You know, like Potts Grove, and Potts Grove used to give keys to the residents so that they would get in through the gates, and they would charge for the keys. But I understand that our big worry here is the maintenance of the tracks. You know, because also at the time when they were originally doing that, they had not put in an all-weather track yet. So, and that changed. I'm not sure whether they still do that now or not.
I don't know
That
what
did change.
maintenance we're worried about when we're just walking on it.
Well,
And as far as getting into the facility, we could easily install a turnstile gate at one of the entrances. And that avoids bikes coming in and, you know, I mean, yeah, there's gonna have to be monitoring, there's gonna have to be, you set the hours, you set the days. I mean, we gotta be able to figure this out. I mean,
Well, that's right, the devil's in the details in terms of,
Yes.
I've been there before in terms of not having access from dawn, from dawn till the end of school, so you had said summer, that's a different conversation.
yeah,
And the use of a swipe card, very similar, as a deposit of some sort,
well,
I know the concern always is the use of the turf, so people tap 10 people through and all that good stuff, use of that coverage, not to do it, that those are just some of the challenges that are.
You're more worried
associated.
about some people going in there and
Yeah.
just turning it off.
Well,
Vandalism.
yeah, I
More is in vandalism.
Especially
than
since we're on
anything
that end of life, I didn't say that out loud,
and that's
on the turf fields.
why, you know, I'm pushing for exterior cameras,
else.
and,
Mhm.
you know, I think people are paying a price for not being able to use it. I mean, I just can't wrap my head around it. I really can't.
Well,
You know.
when we do address this, we will also need to address the fact, like, just this past year, we had an individual who wanted to train for a decathlon, and he was denied the training. So we'll also have to take that into consideration when we are working this out also.
Right, because that'll open it up, just like the community partner opens it up for
Yes.
everybody. That makes it change too.
Well,
All right, well, we'll keep it in mind. That's all I can say.
well, you'll keep hearing from me.
All right.
I'll second you on it. I'm
I just don't
up
know.
there, I could use the track.
Yeah, me too. Anyone have anything else?
Quick question about cameras again. Do we have cameras outside the middle school, since
Yes.
it's so new?
Yes.
Okay. Do we have cameras outside the 4-5 center?
We do not.
Okay, so those are on the list to be done.
Yes.
Are the cameras at the middle school in the rear as well?
Yes.
Speaking of the 4-5 center, how are we doing with that new playground? Is it still intact?
It is. We had to order a replacement piece for a piece that had gotten broken somehow.
Yeah,
Um,
not during school time, probably.
No, we found it.
Oh, okay.
We found it. Or someone reported that one of our playground aides had reported that there was an issue. We investigated, and it was some type of vandalism, unfortunately. But overall, I think it's been stable.
Okay.
We're still having the occasional issue of trespassing, so I need to get with.
That was my next
I'm
question.
hoping to actually speak with Kyle this Saturday morning and just kick around some ideas for signage. That's what the chief of police recommended. The only hangup I have is, what should the sign say?
Right.
My thought is something like no trespassing during school hours,
Right.
maybe list the school hours or something like that, because I don't think we're necessarily saying no trespassing ever.
No.
We're okay generally with the public using the facility
Sure.
after hours.
Mhm.
So I just want to make sure that wording is right, and then the police chief is recommending that we kind of bring the property in these with these signs.
Okay.
You pick up all your beer cans when finished.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, yeah, we do have to go out and sweep the playground for those types of things.
And this is not a trek to go to Walmart through, especially during school hours.
Yeah, and I had a conversation with the property manager there at the Willows, and she was very good, she was very supportive, said she was gonna put something in their newsletter, and, you know, I appreciated her trying to help us.
That's
so,
good,
yeah.
that's good. I had one other thing. I don't know, and if I say it, it was not a good thing, so I won't say it.
It was not a.
I forget what it was, I went out of my head that quick.
Okay.
It was an update on something, oh, I knew what it was. I don't want to ask the questions, now I'm wood somewhere. Everything okay with the traffic pattern at 4-5? Okay,
Yeah, I don't think we.
you don't have to say
No,
anymore, I
it's
just
actually,
wanted to
It's
know.
actually flowing well, I think.
Good.
It's,
Yep.
Okay,
yeah, we
I don't
we
want to
worked
jinx it,
out.
that's all, I just didn't want to
Sounds
jinx
better than
it.
having it in all in that side lot. I mean, the
Yes.
plan to bring that
Certainly
around
better.
back.
Yes.
A little extra runway definitely helps.
Good,
The doors are open earlier to get people going.
Good.
There's no backups in the middle of Sixth Street.
okay, good,
So.
okay. I just felt the need to ask,
Yeah.
but I didn't want to
We've
jinx
got
it.
really strong compliance of pickup zones,
Good,
you know, where the pickup zone is, so.
okay,
I've been out there a couple times in the morning and the afternoon. And,
So I pick up my kids there and drop them off too. I haven't,
then good,
yeah, I haven't encountered any issues.
good. Well, it's the borough was upset, that's why it got switched again. Okay, anyone else? Oh, go ahead,
You know,
Bob.
when you mentioned about the track picking, I don't know where it is or how you can check it, but there was a time when that track was open to the
I
public.
remember that, I do remember that, it was a long time ago.
I don't know why they discontinued, so maybe there was a legitimate reason for
Probably
discontinuing.
because
I
we
don't
put
know.
the turf
But that
fields
was
in.
open.
It was probably because when we put the turf fields in, I would imagine. I mean, that makes sense to me, that would have been when it would happen. I don't know that for sure, but that's my guess. George?
The track was originally approved 5-4, and the fifth vote was Tom Sands, and he would only vote for it if they promised that the public could walk on the track.
Well, there
So,
you go.
the public was betrayed when they were not allowed to walk, but at the same time, the townships put in really nice walks, Camelot and Marlboro,
That's
so there
true.
wasn't a McCovey run, so it kind of, people didn't feel adverse to the school district, because there were so many more nice walking facilities available to the public in the community.
That's true, yeah.
Those are too far away from me. I don't live in.
Well, you're gonna walk all the way around the sidewalk. and not
Yeah, that's
across the
it,
field,
yeah.
right?
All right, do we have anything else? Good. I would entertain a motion to
Motion?
adjourn.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you,
I was
everyone.
saying to vote,
Thank
that's
you.
how we got the track. Before, see, I was actually, I didn't talk to you around, and see you there.
Anyone who thinks it's-
Thanks, Thursday.